Here now is one of the few in Washington who have come around on how dangerous debt is. Kansas Republican Congressman Tim Huelskamp. Congressman Huelskamp, it's a pleasure. Welcome to Freedom Watch.
Hey, pleasure to join you, Judge. Thank you.
You voted in favor of the first continuing resolution about 10 days ago, which let the government operate for another 2 weeks, which would take it through to this Friday. And then you had a change of heart and today voted against the second continuing resolution, which your colleagues in the House passed, that lets the government operate for another 3 weeks. What made you change your mind, Congressman?
Well, Judge, the last time there was the budget bill came out of the House. Senate hadn't even started operating yet. One could argue they haven't yet now, but working down the road, I mean, it's time for some action. We gave them 2 weeks, and I told our leadership, I said, I'll do it once, tell the Senate to go to work, and now they're out of time. And now we got the president not participating, Harry Reid's not participating, and I don't know why giving them 3 more weeks is going to bring him to the table.
Congressman Huelskamp, I realize that you are a freshman in the Congress, a farmer from the great state of Kansas. But in your couple of months in the Congress, can you explain this for me? Why has this become a battle between small government, maximum individual liberty, sound dollar, Tea Party Republicans, and big government, establishment, business as usual Republicans?
Well, I ran for a number of reasons, but the biggest part of that was to change the culture in Washington, and this budget battle is part of that cultural change we need to happen. The idea we can wait 2 weeks, the idea we can wait 3 weeks. Hey, Judge, testimony before the House Budget Committee. We have a year to 2, maybe 3 or 4 years at the most, and we have to find a way to bring our budget on a path for balancing, or else the credit markets are going to go crazy about us like they are about Japan. We don't have another few weeks to get this one done because we have next year's budget, we got this debt ceiling vote. We wrap those all together, the president's going to roll over us and get exactly what he wants, in my opinion.
I think you're exactly right, and I can't imagine what would happen in the next 3 weeks that didn't occur in the last 2 weeks that would bring about this great debate about the role of the federal government in our lives and how we're going to address the debt. Congressman Huelskamp, you and your 53 fellow Republicans who voted against this continuing resolution are not in the group that I will now characterize. But I think that most Republicans in the House, especially the leadership, who were once rebels themselves when they were in the minority, don't understand the true danger of this monstrous debt that we're facing. What are they going to do when the president wants to borrow another $1.6 trillion, as he's already served notice he's going to ask for as soon as this present budgetary issue is resolved?
That's a great question, and we haven't heard the answer, the expectation there. But when you're talking about $6 billion, you have to understand they've never cut anything around here before. They've never cut anything before, and they're mighty proud of $6 billion, but we know out of $1.6 trillion, my folks at home, my constituents say, are you kidding me, Tim? It's time to get some serious things done, and that's actually next year's budget when we bring entitlements and real reforms on the table, because that's where the big money is as well, which is why we got to finish this year and get started on doing things. Medicaid, it's bankrupting states. Medicare, it's going bankrupt in 6 years. Social Security, it's in a perpetual deficit state for here on out because of the baby boomers. We've got to tackle those problems now, and putting this budget off just makes it more difficult in the future.
Are the small government Republicans who voted with you today against the power of the government to spend money for the next 3 weeks willing to cut the defense budget as well? Are they willing to say we don't need 150,000 troops in Afghanistan, we don't need to send money to a corrupt government over here, bring the troops home, stop wasting the money?
Well, we're not going to close that operation down, but this budget does make cuts in the security side of things. We did that. That was a real battle in the caucus. But when you say everything's on the table, Judge, everything has to be on the table, and that's what I'm concerned about. But when you talk to American people, they understand their families and businesses, they have to balance every month. They have to make it happen. They can't do that for 6 months at a time. We'd go 6 months without a budget here if we don't get something done in the near future. So we've got a lot of work to do, but at least it's a different direction. We've changed the debate. Instead of talking about how we can spend money, we actually are debating how we can cut. The question is, can we move as fast as we have to move to deal with a $14.3 trillion deficit debt, and that's a long ways to go.
Last question. We only have about 30 seconds, Congressman. In a couple of weeks, you'll be asked to vote yes or no. Shall the president have the authority to borrow more money and incur more debt? Will you vote yes or will you vote no?
I will vote yes if it's tied. If we vote on it after we pass the balanced budget amendment through the House and send it back to the states so the American people can have their say. We've got to change how we do budgets in Washington. We've got to force them to balance their budget. They're not going to do it on their own, Judge. I'm very convinced of that.
Congressman Tim Huelskamp from Kansas, thank you for joining us on Freedom Watch.
Thank you, Judge.